It's 5:01 p.m. on a Tuesday. An email lands in your inbox with an urgent flag. A few years ago, you might have sighed, cracked your knuckles, and dived right back in, fueled by ambition and the promise of getting ahead. But now, you just closed your laptop. You haven't quit your job. You've just quit the idea of working for free. This is the reality of quiet quitting. The phrase that's been whispered in break rooms and blasted across social media. And let's be clear from the outset, it's not about being lazy. It's not about slacking off or ignoring your duties. It's about doing exactly what your job description entails. Nothing more, nothing less. It's about clocking in, doing good work, and clocking out. It's about rejecting the hustle culture mentality that demands your work be the absolute center of your life. It's about acting your wage. But the narrative you hear is one of a lazy, entitled generation unwilling to work hard. That narrative is wrong. It's a convenient story that ignores the real systemic issues brewing beneath the surface of our work lives. Quiet quitting isn't the disease, it's a symptom. It's a flare sent up by a generation burning out from a culture that demands everything and gives back too little. It's a silent protest against a broken promise. In this episode, we're going to dissect this phenomenon. We'll look at the data to reveal what's really driving millions of people to pull back, and most importantly, we'll outline the cure, a new playbook for both employees and companies to build a future of work that's sustainable, respectful, and worth our effort. If you're tired of the grind and ready for real solutions, make sure you subscribe to GENSHIFT and hit that notification bell, because we're about to redefine the conversation. One, quiet quitting. The symptom, not the disease. So what exactly is quiet quitting? Forget the headlines painting a picture of checked out slackers. The term, which exploded on platforms like TikTok, describes employees who consciously stop the practice of going above and beyond their stated duties. They still meet their deadlines, they fulfill their responsibilities, but they no longer volunteer for extra projects, answer emails at 9 p.m., or subscribe to the hustle culture mentality that work must be the absolute center of their universe. This isn't a lack of ambition, it's a recalibration of boundaries that have long been erased. It's distinctly different from active disengagement or loud quitting, where employees vocalize their unhappiness. Instead, quiet quitters simply withdraw their discretionary effort, the effort they once willingly gave. This isn't a fringe movement. According to extensive research by Gallup, these so-called quiet quitters, whom they classify as not engaged workers, make up at least 50% of the entire US workforce. Let that sink in. Half of the workforce is psychologically detached from their job, doing the bare minimum required to get by. This isn't a Gen Z fad. It's a silent pandemic of disengagement, and it's costing the global economy an estimated $8.8 trillion in lost productivity. That's a staggering 9% of the world's GDP. To understand why this is happening, picture a classic balance scale. On one side, you have effort. The hours, the energy, the creativity, the extra miles. On the other side, you have reward, compensation, recognition, work-life balance, and a sense of purpose. For decades, the unspoken deal was that if you piled on extra effort, the reward side would eventually balance out with promotions, raises, and security. But for Gen Z and younger millennials, that scale is broken. They've watched their parents get laid off after decades of loyalty during the 2008 financial crisis. They've entered a workforce defined by economic instability and stagnant wages, and they're drowning in burnout. A staggering 72% of Gen Z workers report experiencing symptoms of burnout like exhaustion and feeling unmotivated. They are pushing back against a hustle culture that glorifies constant productivity at the direct expense of mental and physical well-being. This culture creates a toxic cycle of positivity where there is little room for failure, leading to both physical and psychological distress. The financial reality is just as grim. For the third year in a row, the cost of living is the top concern for these generations, with around 56% of Gen Z living paycheck to paycheck, an increase of 5 points from the previous year. When you consistently add to the effort side of the scale, but the reward side never moves, what's the logical response? You stop adding effort. Quiet quitting is not an act of rebellion. It's an act of rebalancing. It is a rational, protective response to a system that has taken far more than it has given. It's a generation collectively deciding that if the promise of going above and beyond is a lie, then they will simply and quietly stop believing in it. They are not quitting their jobs. They are quitting the culture of unrewarded, unsustainable overwork. 2. Toxic workplaces, the root cause. If quiet quitting is the symptom, then the disease is the modern toxic workplace. The conversation has been conveniently framed as a problem with employee attitude, but the data points to a much deeper, more uncomfortable truth. The problem isn't the employee, it's the environment. Gallup's research is unequivocal on this point, stating that quiet quitting is, above all, a symptom of poor management. Only 1 in 3 managers is engaged at work themselves, making it nearly impossible for them to foster engagement in others. So what does this pathogen look like? A toxic work culture is an ecosystem of dysfunction that can manifest in several distinct forms. There's the burnout culture, where the pressure to overwork is constant and unrealistic deadlines are the norm. There's the authoritarian culture, where micromanagers rule by fear, stifling creativity and creating pervasive anxiety. There's the stagnation culture, where there are no opportunities for growth, leaving employees feeling stuck in a dead-end job. And there's the chaotic culture, where unclear expectations and inconsistent messaging create a constant state of confusion and wasted effort. These environments are fueled by specific behaviors. A chronic lack of recognition is a primary driver. When people feel invisible, their motivation withers. This is compounded by inconsistent policies, where rules apply to some but not others, shattering any sense of fairness. This breeds an environment of low psychological safety, where employees feel they can't speak up, admit a mistake, or suggest a new idea without risking punishment or humiliation. According to Gallup, one of the top drivers of burnout is simply being treated unfairly. When you combine these elements, being ignored, confused, controlled, scared, and stuck, the result is irrational withdrawal. Some may even develop resenteeism, an evolution of quiet quitting where they are not only disengaged, but also resentful about being trapped in their role. Why would anyone offer their discretionary effort, their creativity, their passion to a system that offers only stress and disrespect in return? They wouldn't. Instead, they build a psychological wall. They retreat to the safety of their job description. They stop offering the parts of themselves that are most vulnerable to exploitation, their enthusiasm and their extra time. This isn't a failure of their work ethic. It's a calculated act of self-preservation in a hostile environment. 3. The cure: building sustainable work-life ecosystems. So how do we fix this? The cure for quiet quitting isn't a pizza party or another motivational poster. It's a fundamental re-engineering of the relationship between employees and employers. It's about building a sustainable work-life ecosystem, and it requires intentional, strategic action from both sides. For employees, the first step is reclaiming your agency by building strong, healthy boundaries. This isn't about being difficult, it's about being clear and protecting your most valuable, non-renewable resource: your time. Start by defining your non-negotiables. What do you need to protect your mental health? Maybe it's not checking emails after 6 p.m. Maybe it's taking a full hour for lunch away from your desk. Maybe it's embracing digital detoxes by deleting work apps for the weekend. Once you know your lines, you have to communicate them. Learning to say no confidently is a superpower. You can say, "I'm at capacity right now, but I can look at this next week." Or, "That falls outside of my current priorities. Can we discuss how this fits in?" It's about being assertive while remaining collaborative. This champions the authenticity that Gen Z values, staying true to yourself and your limits. You are, in effect, building a protective wall around your personal life, brick by brick, ensuring that work stays in its lane. For companies, the cure is more structural, and it must be built on a foundation of trust and respect. It begins with acknowledging a simple truth from Deloitte's research. For Gen Z, a sense of purpose and well-being is impossible without first achieving financial security. The foundation of any healthy work culture is fair, transparent compensation that reflects an employee's value and the high cost of living. But money alone isn't enough. The next pillar is robust, authentic recognition. This means creating systems where appreciation is timely, specific, and frequent. It's not just about an annual bonus. It's about the small, consistent gestures that make people feel seen. It's a handwritten letter from a manager detailing a specific achievement. It's a peer-to-peer recognition platform where colleagues can give each other public praise. It's a shout-out on social media or a company-wide forum. It's even a simple handwritten thank you note left on a desk. This must be driven by human-centric leadership. Companies need to invest in training their managers to be coaches and mentors, not just supervisors. This means holding regular, meaningful, one-on-one conversations that are about the employee's growth and well-being, not just their to-do list. It means setting crystal clear expectations so employees are never left guessing. And it means investing in their development, offering opportunities for high achievers to work on special passion projects, much like Google's famous practice of allowing employees to spend 20% of their time on side projects. Look at the companies that get this right. Patagonia fosters such a strong culture of trust and well-being, famously encouraging employees to go surfing when the waves are good with its Let My People Go Surfing policy, that it boasts an employee turnover rate of a mere 4%. Google used its data to see that new mothers were leaving at a high rate and responded by dramatically increasing paid maternity leave to 18 weeks, boosting retention and demonstrating a commitment to employee care. Pixar has built a culture of profound psychological safety where creatives are encouraged to show their ugly babies, their earliest, most fragile ideas, without fear of judgment, fostering the collaboration that leads to blockbuster films. These companies understand that investing in their people isn't a cost. It's the ultimate competitive advantage. They build cultures based on trust, respect, and a shared understanding that a healthy, engaged employee is a productive and innovative one. This is the future, and companies that refuse to adapt will be quietly left behind. Conclusion. Ultimately, quiet quitting is a distress signal. It's a widespread, rational response to a work culture that has become fundamentally unbalanced. It's not a problem to be solved with disciplinary action or accusations of laziness. It's a clear demand for a new social contract at work, one that is built on mutual respect, fair compensation, and the radical idea that employees are human beings, not just human resources. The path forward is a shared one. It requires individuals to bravely define and defend their boundaries, and it demands that organizations dismantle toxic systems and build cultures of trust and psychological safety. This isn't just about making people happier. It's about building more resilient, innovative, and ultimately more successful organizations for the future. The great recalibration of work has begun, and it signals a permanent shift toward more human-centric models where ethical, supportive workplaces are no longer a perk, but a prerequisite for survival. What are your experiences with quiet quitting or hustle culture? Share your story in the comments below. Let's elevate this conversation. And for more strategic intelligence on navigating the future of work, make sure you're subscribed to GenShift.